This is my new Honda CB-1. Bought this bike as a non-runner. Did a bit of work to get it back up and running. The carbs needed cleaning and one of the spark plugs was bad. So I was only running on 3 cylinders. Since then I got the bike running. I didn't take a video of that because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to troubleshoot it as you would normally do, and now I just want to get this bike looking good again, so I'll be sanding it down and painting the fairings, and also the fuel tank, the lacquer is gone. Also it's got a few dings in it, so I'll see what I can do to fix that and show you the process. So I've started sanding this down with 80 grit sandpaper on a sanding block. It's got quite a few big dings in it from probably a previous fall. It's got some cracks, but seems like it was filled in with some fiberglass at some point. So I'll just continue sanding this down with 80 grit, getting rid of some of the big dents in it. On the other side, very similar, some big dents and paint missing. So I'll do that and then work my way up the sandpaper grit until I get a nice smooth finish, and then I'll start filling it and then painting it. Just gonna pass with the 80 grit sandpaper, and I filled in most of the bad areas. Gonna have another go with a smoother sandpaper so that I can clean some of the excess filler, and then I will put some finer filler on it and just work my way down the grit levels. First round of sanding and filling, so I've filled it. And then I've used 80 grit to sand most of the excess filler down.
Yes.
And just discovered another crack over here. I've marked it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Dremel, make a groove, and then fill that groove with some kind of glue. So I've used a marker pen to mark where the crack is, and I'll be using the Dremel next to make a groove and then fill that. So in addition to the glue, I want to put this piece of metal and kind of melt it into the plastic. I'll be using this soldering iron. We'll just see how it works. I've not done this before, but I've seen other people do it. I didn't know how well this was gonna work, but I think it worked pretty well. This is nicely made a groove inside there just with the heat from the soldering iron, and it's probably still warm now, but looks pretty nicely settled in there. So this is now glued and just drying out, so I'll put it to one side and then start filling it and sanding it once again. So this is now sanded down to 400 grit. It feels pretty smooth everywhere. It's still a bit wet. I had to wet sand it, or give it a one final wet sand, because the sandpaper was getting pretty clogged. But feels pretty smooth. What I'm gonna do next is use a bit of knife putty to fill any places that feel a little bit uneven. Then sand it down with 600 grit. Give it a coat of primer, and depending on how the primer looks, I'll probably give it another sanding with 800 grit. So just put knifing putty, and then I used a heat gun to speed up the curing process. Quite a bit here where there were quite a lot of small dents, so I'll be using 40 grit sandpaper to try and smooth it out, and then 600 grit to give it a nice finish, and then start priming. I've just finished sanding with 600 grit. I feel everything is smooth. I'm just waiting for it to dry out, and then I'll be applying a coat of primer on it. So I've put 2 coats of primer, but I can still see some imperfections and some deep scratches from the 80 grit sandpaper that I didn't sand down well enough, so I'll sand it down again. Now this is how the paint has turned out. I'm not very happy with it. This is the first time I've painted any car or motorbike panels. You see all these videos with people online telling you how to do a rattle can paint job, and they tend to look really good. That is not my experience on this occasion. I've followed the instructions. I've used all the different grit sandpapers. I've used all the different fillers that they recommend, and still it doesn't look right. I should have spent a lot more time on sanding it down. I didn't know exactly how much effort, how much time to put in the sanding. It's all in the prep, like they say, but yeah, when you look at videos online, people tend it looks really short and very quick and easy. I have a feeling it's not. I should have put a lot more preparation into sanding and filling and resanding and refilling. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case now. I think it looks good enough, certainly much better than before. I've put a pretty thick clear coat on it, and what I'll do is probably sand it down with really smooth sandpaper and give it a polish, and that will hopefully make it look a little bit better. It's not bad, but I would just like it if it had a bit more shine to it.